Oh boy, it's time to talk about kleptocurrencies. I'm sorry, cryptocurrencies and NFTs. What are they? Anyway, let's start with a few quotes from Milton Friedman, a very notable economist of the late 20th century. I think the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that soon will be developed, is a reliable e-cash. Well, I agree. Eventually, the governments will create some digital currencies. I don't necessarily agree with kleptocurrencies. Alan Greenspan, who was the Federal Reserve chairperson for many years, said, "You really have to stretch your imagination to infer what the intrinsic value of Bitcoin is." I haven't been able to do it. Maybe somebody else can. But none other than Stephen Colbert, the comedian, said it best, in my humble opinion. It's gold for nerds. Right. Exactly. It is speculation for nerds, and it's been quite a wild ride so far. And what I want you to remember is a very good quote from over 100 years ago from none other than John Pierpont Morgan, J.P. Morgan. You've heard of J.P. Morgan Chase, right? Morgan Stanley. Nothing so undermines your financial judgment as the sight of your neighbor getting rich. Yeah. Boy, hasn't this clouded people's judgment when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Slide number 2. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are pure speculation. You must buy low, sell high. So in that way, they're very similar to gold and precious metals, but they're even worse because there's no practical application. There's no use for these things other than creating a great system for crooks. However, the technology behind cryptocurrencies, which is called blockchain, is valuable, it will survive, and will be used in many different applications. Come on, Payana, what you got against Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies? You're just old, that's all. This is the future. We're all going to get rich, 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 right. Rebuttal. First of all, as mentioned, you can't invest in a cryptocurrency. You can only speculate. The value is worth only what others believe it is worth. It's the greater fool theory. Cryptocurrencies do not pay interest, dividend, rent. They don't create new products. They don't move into new markets. In other words, there's no cash flow. And more importantly, there's nothing backing up the currency. But this is what the disciples say. But what about the fiat currencies, huh? Aren't they the same? They are only worth something because we believe they are. And they use the term fiat as a pejorative, as a way to say, oh, the dollar is worthless, the yen is worthless, the euro is worthless, because there's nothing backing them up. Well, folks, first of all, fiat means from, that from which you just say, this is what we're going to use. It means coming out of thin air. By decree, we say that this is the currency. But it's not true. It's not true that there's nothing backing up the dollar, or the euro, or the yen, or the peso, or the rupee, or whatever, the rupee in India. Not so fast. You will hear people say that our dollars and other fiat currencies are not backed by gold and are therefore worthless. Well, this is poppycock, folks. By the way, what is gold worth? As we've seen, gold as an investment is also a speculation. Although gold does have some usage, jewelry, electrical, dentistry. Our dollars are backed by our economy, the great American economic machine. Our dollars are backed by what the U.S. can produce and consume. It is called our gross domestic product. And it is impressive. Walk into any grocery store and look around, and then you tell me that our dollars are worthless. Right. The job of the Federal Reserve Board is to make sure that there are enough dollars in circulation to match the production of our economy with the consumption of our economy. Too many dollars, you get inflation. Not good. Too few dollars and our economic output is stifled and the opportunities for growth of our wealth are lost. Look, it's not an easy job. They've screwed up royally in the past, but they've also sometimes done a really good job. I think they're doing a phenomenal job now. I mean, we came out of this global financial crisis and they had both feet on the accelerator for years, and then they started to raise interest rates, and that didn't make Agent Orange, Trump happy when he was president. And then that stupid microbe came along, and we knew, the economists would tell us, and some of the politicians, if we freeze the economy, if we put everybody in deep freeze, when it comes out, there's going to be large-scale disruptions. There's going to be inflation. There's going to be supply-demand disruptions. You just can't turn off a 20-some trillion dollar economy and a $70 trillion global economy and then turn it back on like a light switch. And that's exactly what happened. Wood spiked fourfold, copper, all these supply-demand imbalances when we tried to restart the economy. And then the inflation hit. So their job was to cool it off. And I thought for sure, and I'm not alone, and some people still believe they're going to do it. We were sure, I was sure, and a lot of other people, that the Fed was going to cause a recession by raising interest rates as high as they rose them. And so far, so good. We'll see next year or the year after that, because in the business, we talked about the yield curve. It's still inverted, folks. The bond market's still thinking, we're going to have a recession soon. I mean, we've been overdue for quite some time. It's not an easy job. They have 300 economists on their payroll. They know more about the American economy than anybody else, and even they are not perfect. I love it when I hear people scream, "End the Fed! They're banksters, they're crooks." And I think, oh yeah? As if you could do a better job? What would you do? Go back to gold! Oh my goodness, that's so stupid. It doesn't even work. Why would you base your economy on some metal that there isn't even that much of, that isn't really useful? If you're going to base your economy on anything, you would base your economy on oil, which is what we've done, and hopefully we're going to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels, but they're not going away anytime soon. So yeah, the Fed is here to stay, and they've done a decent job. Let's hope that they stay independent. There's calls for making them subservient to a certain orange dictator, but we'll see. The election is actually today. So how does this relate to cryptocurrency, and how do you explain the success of Bitcoin? Well, there is absolutely nothing to stop other individuals or groups from starting their own cryptocurrencies, right? All you need is a computer and a celebrity to hawk it. And people think, oh, what a great idea. This is what's happened. According to who you believe, there are tens of thousands of them. Motley Fool says there's over 2.4 million cryptocurrencies. I have a hard time believing that. But my favorite one, you don't hear too much about it, but about 5 or 6 years ago, it was all the rage. JesusCoin. And if you don't believe me, look it up. It was the only cryptocurrency, favored by the Son of God. You look at the website and you thought, this has got to be a spoof, right? No, it wasn't. It still is, but I don't think it's worth anything. Most of them are not worth anything anymore. It's tulip bulb mania all over again, when the Dutch traded tulip bulbs in the early 1600s. There's some controversy about how egregious the trading and the valuations got, but still, it was, a lot of people made a whole lot of money, and a whole lot of people lost a whole lot more. And the same thing is true with cryptocurrencies. Some people will get very rich, and many others will lose a whole lot of money. And you see, the problem with this particular bubble is that it's never ending. Whereas the internet bubble, there's only so many companies that can come public before the public's habit can. So many companies can issue stock and go public before the investing public sours on them and no more. And the same thing is true with the housing bubble And after a while, they built too many houses, and then people bought houses, and the price went up so high, and they couldn't afford them, and then the whole thing started falling apart in 2007 and 8. And these are bubbles in the past that have done the same thing. But the thing about cryptocurrencies, all you need is a computer and a celebrity to hawk the darn things, and you can make a whole new cryptocurrency. But the top ones, certainly the top 10 or so, maybe the top 4 or 5, they demand the most attention and the most money. However, as Stephen Colbert so astutely observed, it's gold for nerds. Most likely a few of the larger currencies will survive and eventually start to behave like gold, which we've seen has barely kept up inflation. Kept up, it should be kept, I have to change that, kept up with inflation. The problem is that because of the technology, the swings in volatility are far greater. Plus, it's not regulated. It's not regulated, so there's all kinds of hanky-panky going on. All you got to do is type cryptocurrency scams into any search engine, and you'll see hundreds of articles about people who've been scammed out of their life savings because of cryptocurrencies. I know the Squid Game one where they created a Squid Game was a popular Netflix video or something like that. I didn't see it or anything, but then they created a coin to go with the show. I don't think they were related, except for the name. And then, of course, the people who started it ran away with the money. And then 2 Turkish brothers ran away with $2 billion. And Mt. Gox got it's the Wild West, worst. Because it's global. Until we see a few that survive and become more stable, even then, be prepared for volatility if you get involved. And as we said, by the way, there are no currencies more fiat, meaning created by decree, than cryptocurrencies. And let's revisit the graphic that compared gold to stocks, bonds, and inflation. And there it is, dear students. Look at it. You can see that stocks have done a whole lot better than gold, and the volatility that we see in gold ain't nothing compared to what we've seen and will continue to see with these cryptocurrencies. In 2001, in the one class, it was a great class. It was a lot of fun. We had one guy who just kept saying, it's going to go to 100,000 by the end of this year. That was 2021. I say 2001? 2021. And I said, well, why? I asked him why. And he said, because it is. I said, okay, whatever you say. Right. And it didn't happen that way. And now it's swinging up and it swings down, and you got to be able to predict it. But remember, there's people who have tremendous sums of Bitcoins that can move the market, and you'll just get squashed. You're like a little flea and the elephant steps on you. Okay. Given the unregulated nature, the criminal element has embraced the technology. Statistics vary widely, but there is no doubt they're being used extensively by criminals, especially with these viruses that seize your computer, ransomware. Pump and dump and many other types of scams are rampant. The owners of the Turkish exchange ran off with $2 billion. The cryptocurrency based on the Netflix series made off with $3 million. $2 billion to Turkish and $3 million to Turkish two brothers, and $3 million with the Squid Games. This is exactly what we would expect with an unregulated financial system. So much for DeFi. I truly believe that the governments around the world are working on this technology, and they will have these digital currencies based on the economy, but it's not here yet, and it will be. It will be. I'm sure it'll happen because it just makes sense. The $100 bill. There's more $100 bills supposedly outside the United States than they're inside the United States. Non-fungible tokens are digital assets that give someone the bragging rights that they own something that anyone can download from the internet. They're proof positive that we're living through a bubble, but it seems to have subsided, right? The NFTs, I don't know, I don't follow it. But the one NFT sold for $69 million. Folks, all you have to do is go online and you can download it. But you can't say it's yours. And whoever paid $69 million for it can say it's mine. Okay, and what does that do for you? I don't know. Similarly, during the dot-com mania, a greeting card company sold for over $700 million at the height of the internet bubble, and 2 years later was sold for $35 million. The website year2000.com sold for $10 million. Can you imagine what it's worth now? But if you're an artist, hey, quick, they're giving away. I don't think that's happening anymore. I should, oh, excuse me about that. I should rephrase this, right? Because I don't know, I don't follow it, but if I were an artist, I would have been. I'm not. I make great stick figures. Maybe, who knows? Somebody might have bought those things. You've seen my graphics. Okay, so cryptocurrencies and NFTs. I have no doubt that the world will eventually come up with digital currencies. The governments will have digital currencies that are tied to their economy, much the way our dollars are tied to our economy now. And yeah, they better be darn secure, because there's going to be hackers all over the world trying to rip into them. There are now already. And so this is my humble offering for cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Stay far away, dear students. But hey, I'm old, remember? And who knows? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But as Alan Greenspan said, there's no intrinsic value. It's the greater fool theory. What somebody else is going to pay more, you hope someone else is going to pay more than what you paid for it, and you better be ready to, play the game where you sell high, buy low, sell high, and good luck. Good luck. Anyway, next chapter, we'll talk about a real investment, real estate, and real estate investment trusts. They're not for everyone, and they ain't easy. Well, the real estate investment trusts look like stocks, so that they're very easy. But the real estate itself, oh boy. I like to say real estate is tricky, which is a fancy way of saying it's a real PITA. Remember mutual funds? Pain in mutual funds, there's very little PITA factor, big PITA factor with real estate. Thank you again, as always, for being in our class, and tell me why I'm stupid and don't know anything about cryptocurrencies, okay? I would love to learn.